While being in the military, I have came across a lot of challenges for being a woman. The biggest challenge of them all was feeling like I couldn't amount to my male battle buddies because they were infantry and I was support. Women have been fighting to be given equal rights as the male who they serve alongside since the Revolutionary War. As a woman, we always wanted to feel accepted into society where men are accepted without questioning. I decided to do my speech on women in combat. In 1994, the Pentagon declared service members are eligible to be assigned to all positions for which they are qualified, except that women shall be excluded from assignments to units below the brigade level whose primary mission is to engage in direct combat on ground. While reading womenmemorial.org, it was stated that women back then had to disguise themselves as men to serve alongside them. When women were finally able to accept into the military, they was given auxiliary roles. When women were able to join the military, it was only two branches, the Navy and the Marine Corps, during World War I. Several other countries has already allowed women into combat units. Example, Denmark in 1978, Norway 1984, and Sweden 1989. These countries have been giving women equal opportunity by allowing them to serve in combat roles. It wasn't until World War II that a large amount of women were able to serve in all branches of the armed forces. Right after that, most women was discharged, according to the history of military women. The debate on the United States on whether women should fully initiate into the armed forces originated in 1940s and embraced women, blacks, and other ethnic minorities. The Pentagon policy denying women frontline combat lasted updated in 1994. This policy stated defining direct combat as engaging the enemy on the ground with individual or crew served weapon while being exposed to hostile fire and high probability of direct physical contact with hostile personnel. The fear of women having to serve and die in combat position helped to defeat the Equal Rights Amendment in 1982. On February 28, 2013, Katie Johnson wrote an article on women in combat history and future, stating that women have frequently found themselves in combat in Iraq and Afghanistan, where more than 130 women have died and more than 800 have been wounded. She also stated that women are not given credit for their combat experience because they are only attached to the unit, not assigned. This problem had gotten so bad that in November 2012, 4 women had sued the U.S. Department of Defense because they was not given equal opportunities for when they were serving on the front line by the article written by the CNN wire staff. Women have been wanted the same right as men, and finally a change happened. On January 24, 2013, when Defense Secretary Leon Panetta announced that military would finally lift the ban on women serving in frontline combat roles, finally overturning the rule that was set in place in 1994. He announced that the DoD renewed commitment that everyone is entitled to a chance to serve his or her nation in combat role, thereby affecting the roughly 200,000 active military personnel who are women. The Pentagon began to realize that gender doesn't play a part in the battlefield. Now, here's the male debate on why women shouldn't serve. Here's the reason that most people feel that women shouldn't be in combat. Some of the bigger concerns about women being in combat are the gender. It would be a lot for a male and female to juggle the need to join and separate the sex within the context of quickly developing quickly develop into a deadly situation, by Brooklyn Jerry, CNN Special. Also, this would be a burden on company commander because they do not only have to worry about defeating the enemy, but they have to worry about male and female cohesion. But this on a study done by Congressional Research Service recommend that women should be excluded from direct land combat units in position. The other cons of women fighting on the front line are that the physical ability to do what males do. Captain Katie Pertrano stated that she knows women have been proven to be mentally, physically, and morally capable, but are women able to sustain combat operation for such a long period of time? In an article written by Phyllis Savlashi, he said that on an average, a woman has 60% of physical strength of a man. Another reason that women would cause a problem between combat is that women can get pregnant and men cannot. Therefore, we play two different roles. A feminist chief of legal explained that feminist views by stating as between brutalizing our young men and brutalizing our young women, there would be little to choose. Women would serve in all kinds of units and they would be eligible for combat duty. In an article written by a female Marine called Women in Combat, she made a point that most women wouldn't even qualify if the standards was the same between male and women. The training that the military personnel go through already is hard enough on women, so imagine the toll that it will take on female bodies. Now, having 50 and 80 pounds on the body for a long period of time with running and pulling someone's body weight can get hard. Another thing is that women have cycles, which is the truth, and that most people do not like to face. Is it a medical fact that women lose half their strength when they're on their monthly cycle? Another thing is Army regulations. When it comes to sexual assault and relationship between others that can affect their unit cohesion, it gets hard. What would happen if sexual assault between a man and a woman? A woman will generally lose faith in her fellow battle buddies and may start to fear them, speaking from experience being in the military. As a woman serving my country, I always wanted to feel equal rights was with me as a woman. I want to feel that my effort in the way I was trained to save another life was just as important as my male counterpart. I know being in this organization where proving yourself can be tough, it is worth the fight. The wall that was built so long ago is finally breaking down, and we can stand as one team instead of just males in the front and females in the back. We only want to do one job, and that's the job that most people wouldn't sign up for. But now I can say, I understand that we as women should play a part and help fight with the males, but not on the front line. While doing this research, I wanted to convince you all that to see our sides as being on the front line is just as important as a male on the front line. I now change my mind. I know now that we do a better job with assisting our male battle buddies with supplies and the things they need to help capture and defeat the enemy. I would say at the end of the day, we're all doing the same job to get the mission accomplished. I know that sometimes it feels hard to be a male and a female in the same unit, and I know that with being in, it gets hard seeing the males get all the praise, and being a woman, you don't get as much. But when it comes to being on the front line, it damages our body, and most women want to have kids. So you have to think of all that, having a child and fighting on the front line and being able to lose it all just to get glory of you have done it. Even though we are one team, we know how to get the job done. And with being one team, we should also know that with a woman being on the front line, it can damage the mission instead of hurt it. Instead of making, we all should know that with a woman being on the front line, it can damage the mission and not all the time help the mission. Thank you. This concludes my speech.